Greetings and salutations. This is Pandora the Eclectic. I'm trying to, what was I going to talk about? I think it has something to do with, okay, yeah, not that one. I'd seen something the other day on YouTube, and as you know, I tend to be worse memory man, but, I had to look through and make sure I didn't skip anything. Oh, I remember now. I have the worst, like I said, I have the worst memory known to man. But, I think the other day, me and my mother, apparently, she decided to make me watch a movie from the 1960s. And as you know, I'm not a big fan of 1960s cinema. I prefer 1940s and 50s. However, 1960s and 70s, I just thought was kind of like, could we find anything more pointless and less funny? Okay, 1940s and 50s to me was funnier for a lot of other reasons besides, just I just didn't think the 50s, the 60s, 70s were funny. Okay, but apparently I was forced to watch a movie called Charity or something. I can't remember the name. I don't really fucking care. But yeah, I didn't care much for this film. But there was a certain scene in the film which my mother thought I would like. I don't know why, but it's mostly because if you had ever seen a film like, okay, Hairspray, you've probably been forced to watch it too, and if you're watching this and you're like 5 years old or something like that, your parents make you watch that film and go, oh, it's so boring. You probably didn't care much for Hairspray, which I understand. Which is supposed to be placed in the 60s, but, it was made in 1980 or something like that. It's about Tracy Turnblad and the crazy, nonsensical world of the 60s and whatever shit like that. And I'm talking about the original one, not the remake. Okay? Because I hate the remake. I usually like Amanda Bynes, but she sucks in that film. I don't know why. I don't like her in that film. Anyways, don't need to get all caught up in different versions, but anyways, I apparently like the scene where in the original Hairspray where you had the beatniks. I love the beatniks, and as you know, I consider myself to be a beatnik. The beatniks started around like 1947. In fact, I'm reading a book of complicated poetry written by a fellow beatnik. And most of the time they're usually wearing all black and wearing a hat, usually a beret. Okay? I'm probably breaking the rules by wearing this, but whatever the fuck. Okay, at least I'm wearing a Cats t-shirt, so fuck you. Beatniks. Anyways, yeah, I usually like that particular scene because I love how the beatniks kind of freak out at I don't know what you consider I don't even know what you consider most of the people, or most of the girls in the 60s and 70s to be, but I would call them chicks, at least that's usually what they call themselves, I guess. I don't know, I thought they sucked, frankly, and I was, like I said, beatnik, would never have done any of the stuff that the Tracy Turnblad kids would have done. Even if some of the outfits looked cute on me, still wouldn't have done it, even if you paid me. Because I'm just that kind of girl. I'm a tomboy. I don't do that pretty girly hair thing. As you see, I cut my hair. And you can call me a feminist all you want, whatever. I cut it because, frankly, I don't understand why that would make me girly, because if that's the case, then, yeah, unless you have very feminine features and a guy, it really doesn't make you a girl, it just, you happen to have long hair. That's it. Same with girls. It doesn't really make me any more feminine than I am now. What makes you feminine is the fact that I have a vagina, you understand? Anyways. Or feminine, you don't. I know there's ways to make things girly, but, you know. Anyways. Continuing on, I guess there's a scene in this film where the main characters are pulled aside by these freaky looking hippie kids who are supposed to be like I guess it's just like Christians or whatever. To me, I don't really care. I think they're idiots, and there's always been organized religion since the beginning of time, because I hate to tell people this, you usually brought money to the church and gave it in for alms, or whatever you called it. You also had things like indulgences and shit like that. Anyways, I think there was a certain part where I guess my mom was talking about, like, all these kids were doing all this stuff so they could rebel against their parents. Yeah, basically by leaving their parents' religion to go find another, form of religion, which is like, that's not new. They were doing that well before these idiots discovered that. And frankly, I don't see what's so wrong with kids rebelling against their parents. I'm sorry, parents, that you expected your kids to be perfect and behave and do as you say and not rebel against you. Even though, frankly, when I have children, I want them to rebel against me. If they don't rebel against me, I'm going to think there's something wrong with them. Now, some people will disagree and say, well, wouldn't you want them to behave and be good children? I go, yes, I want them to be good children. I want them to behave. But I also want them to have their own goddamn personality rather than just, kiss up to my sensibilities. I expect them to kind of hate stuff from the 2000s and say, hey to me that, oh, Mom, that's so 2008, frankly, if they hate the 2000s, I will be glad, because I fucking hated the 2000s. I know some part of me would want to go back to it because I was a teenager, and that's a time period I remember when I was happy, which I'm sure if I went back to it, I'd probably say, no, I don't know what the fuck you were thinking, but you hated the 2000s, remember? The only reason why you're going back to it is because compared to the time period you're living in right now it's unhappy for you. Well, right now, it fucking sucks, okay? And that's basically the only reason why you're going to want to go back in time to when you're a teenager. Because it's a better time than you are right now. Which I'll give that. But frankly, as far back as I want to go, if I have to deal with the 2000s, is when I turned 10. That was it. Anywhere after that, no. And I sure as heck don't want to go back to when I was 4 years old, so yeah, I'm sorry to say this, but no, not when I was 4. And if I have to go back to the 90s, I'm going back as I am now in my 20s. Because I have to go back, I like to go back then, in my 20s, because actually I think even though I'm pretty sure even when you were in 20s, it sucked to live in the 2000s, in the 90s. And I'm sure for X, X generation, it sucked too. But, it's one of those, like, people, I don't really know what to say. All I have to say is, I certainly do not understand why parents get so upset over their kids rebelling against them. Because it's going to happen. They know it's going to happen. Because it happens in every generation. We just want them to, I don't know, I guess we expect them to be better than we were. Frankly, I don't. Because I'm a smart enough parent to know. They're kids. This is what they do. They're going to do it till the end of time. Sorry to say this, but yes. Okay? I mean, I'm not a parent, and I can't speak for most parents, but I know children. I grew up in a school where there were kids, so I know it. I know that kids can be cruel and mean, but I also know, well, it's only normal for them to be mean and to be cruel. Okay? Especially when they don't know any better. Also, they may not be rebelling against you. They may just not like the stuff that you're giving them. Because frankly, I don't care much for 60s. Like I said, I don't care much for 60s cinema. With the exception of maybe, or heck, even television shows. All I can say is, do not put me in front of shows like Sesame Street. God only knows. I already have enough bad flashbacks to when. Oh God, yeah. I don't even want to think about that stupid show because of the songs and the children and the. Let's just put it this way: when I was 5 years old, and my mother uh, suggested or wanted to take me to see it, I said, "Could we eat Big Bird?" Seriously, I didn't care much about Big Bird. I just, well, let's just put it this way, people. It does say Big Bird, and well, the only Big Bird I can think of that a bunch of people go and see is usually a turkey, and they usually carving him up and eating him. And heck, uh, yeah, there's just so many things I just hated about watching that show, and also just that. No offense to ruin this video, you like Sesame Street, go ahead, watch it, but I definitely have to say, part of my generation, as you know, most of my generation was known for hating that show. Oh, and going, why? Just, why? Okay? So, I pretty much expect my kids to probably somewhat hate stuff from the 90s. Like some of my music, which I can understand. Like, it's normal. Oh, I think it sounds perfectly fine. As long as, one thing I gotta give the kids is I rarely ever hear them say, hey, music is Satan's music or demon music or whatever. The only people who seem to do that seem to be the elderly. I don't know why that is, but you guys just, they're the ones who do it the most. Only that. At least kids do not doom it to all hell, and while adults will. Don't know why that is. Don't understand. Anyways, this video was longer than I really wanted it to be. Sorry, but I gotta go. Thanks for watching. This is Pandora the Eclectic, telling you all to have a frosty day. And the reason why I say frosty is because too many people use the word cool, and frankly, that word hasn't been cool for a long time. So anyways, this is Pandora saying you all that keep it frosty.